Welcome to the Entrepreneur Stories podcast. Jonathan Herps is your host. He is a strategic advisor, coach, and mentor to entrepreneurial founders, business owners, and CEOs. In this podcast, he chats with entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs of scaling companies. It centers around their entrepreneurial journey so far and their aspirations for their companies.
Hi, it's Jonathan here again. Welcome back to my podcast, Entrepreneur Stories of Scaling Up. This episode is number 109. Today I've got the great pleasure of speaking to Evan Graham, who's CEO of Limcora Pty Limited. I hope that's the right pronunciation, Evan. Welcome to the call.
Thanks for having us, Jonathan.
No, my pleasure. I'm going to warn everybody else. This is the second time we've started. We've got a huge thunderstorm overhead here. So if you hear, it's not my house falling down or my office falling down. If you hear lots of noise. So listen, why don't we start even by telling me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey so far and the company Limcora.
Okay, so a little bit of background. Like I said, my name's Evan Graham. I'm the CEO of Limcoras Pty Limited, second generation plumbing and drainage company. This was literally my backstop career. So my first career, my passion was soccer. I was getting paid to play at Marconi Stallions in the NSL, and plumbing was my backup. I was actually an apprentice with my dad, so family business, and I cut my big toe off as a second year apprentice with a 4-inch hole saw. So that put me out of my soccer career, and then I was like, okay, well, I was probably young, naive enough to not process exactly what I had given up as far as or what I'd lost with the soccer career. So I literally just put all my passion then into finishing my trade in plumbing and then going into the business. So that's where I headed. At that point in time, we only had Dad and his twin brother Anthony. We only had 6 staff at that time. So when I bought the business out, I bought my uncle out, became partners with my dad, and now from 6 to we've been as big as 80. We're sitting at about 60 at the moment across 2 states, and I've been in business for the last 20 years.
Fabulous. And you became CEO whenabouts?
Okay, so I was fresh 21. I literally just finished my time. So that was when I became a shareholder in the business with mum and dad. Since then, I've had a partner come on board who bought my mum and dad out, Alex Nelson and his wife, Natalie. So there's myself and my wife, Amy, and my business partner, Alex, and his wife, Natalie, who are shareholders in the business. So for the last 20 years.
And so just describe what the company looks like now, because it's not a little plumbing company anymore.
No, it's not a little plumbing company anymore. We've got 42 vehicles on the road across 2 states. So we're based, head offices here in Mulgrave, Sydney. And we have an office in Mulgrave, and then we've got a 5-acre farm out in Pittsnow. I call it the farm because it's an old chicken farm that we bought out, and we run out of a warehouse there. And then we've got a little factory unit set up in Kingston, which is just 20 minutes south of Hobart. And my cousin AJ, so my auntie, so my dad's side, my dad's sister's boy, he runs Tasmania for us as our state manager there.
Okay. Well, thank you. And your client base now, what are they?
So client base, predominantly residential is the core, but we also delve into, let's call it your tier 3 commercial space, childcare centres, factory units, medium density government work, so all your affordable housing units, the ILUs, literally anything that comes into the office, we'll take a look at and either have a go or we won't do it. So.
And these tend to be new builds, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of new construction, yeah.
Right. Okay, so if I can, let's sort of go back a little bit. So if you had to start from scratch again, what aspects of personal and leadership development would you prioritise?
The thought of starting again is quite a scary one. I think when you've come this far and you've gone through the roller coaster of business, and we all know what that's like. But I guess for me, like I said, being so young, I had the drive. I had the vision of that I wanted to be, a big plumbing company and successful and all that sort of stuff. So I had the right attributes there. But as far as the process and how that went together, like I was a plumber. I didn't do a degree in business or anything like that. I've literally just learned this as I've gone along. And I say to the staff, I'm like, there's no book that says this is how you build Limcora or this is how you build any business. We've sort of just taken the punches as we go. But things that we have learned is that a book, every job that we do should read like a children's book, should read like a story. So one source of truth, get your processes in place, get your true costs in place, get your structure set up. Everybody, job descriptions, everybody knows what they're doing. The fundamentals of business is the most important. Whereas I literally got all the work in and then I figured all that out on the back end. So I literally did it the worst way, but it tells a good story. So, and here to live for it.
Amazing, isn't it? It's amazing what you can do.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So how do you look? I'm looking at the family photo behind you. How do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a significant business?
Look, I'm huge on family, and it's the culture that we breed here as a business. Family always comes first. So, and it's one reason why I actually wanted to have a sizable business. When I was in the early stages of, I think I got to about 19 and I was on my own before Alex came on board, and I couldn't have a sick day. I was like, the demand was high on me. We hadn't had kids at that time, and at that moment I knew that I had to have that structure in place. So I could be at the kids' events, could be at the school, could be, there to see them grow up and all that sort of stuff. So I guess, my main focus was family first, and then, you work clearly after that. So that was it.
No, it's interesting. Before we started, Evan and I were talking, and it's 3:42 p.m. here at the time we were recording this, and Evan had just rushed back from a school function with his kids. I just it's pouring with rain here, and I just run around the corner in the car to pick up my kids from the bus stop, and I'm the same. I choose to work from home. I choose, you'll never get me before 9:30 in the morning, because my mornings is getting the kids up, breakfast, lunch,
that's right,
conversation, take him to school, and then I go for a walk. And that's the way I'm lucky enough that I can prioritize my life on that basis.
That's right.
Most days when they come home, which is fun. In fact, normally they would have come in and said hello to you on the podcast. That's the usual thing they do. Yeah. So tell me, how many staff did you say you've got now?
We've got 60 at the moment, so there'd be it's a bit over 60. So there's 50 here in Sydney, and then we've got 12 down in Tasmania.
Okay. So what do you look for in employees, and how do you build a positive culture?
Look, I think, and probably one of the purposes that I've realised in the last 2 years of what we actually do outside of plumbing and drainage is we create tradesmen. I've done a little bit of PR on that recently, and our business predominantly, we harbour and bring in apprentices at a young age out of school. We develop them into tradesmen, and then they grow into either having their own business. They can, develop their career in-house here, go off and do subcontracting work or whatever that may be. But literally, the kids that come in here, it is a lot, and you've seen the dynamic. I definitely have seen the dynamic change over the last 20 years. But the kids that come in and are confident and look you in the eye and shake your hand and put themselves out there, that just want to have a go and just want to listen. We'll put our time into them, and they get as much out of us as what they want to put into it. So I guess just that person that wants to have a crack, we'll give them a go too, and then away we go from there. It's not that hard. Continuing
from there, so they've continuing to build the culture. Obviously, family is a
That's right. Yeah. So then over the years, we'll instill. Obviously, they go with our apprentice, with our tradies, and they they instill a lot of the culture that we put into our tradesmen around family, around work ethic, quality. It's probably a hard one at the moment in the industry, because there's not many tradesmen that people say there's a massive issue with skills and all that sort of stuff. So if we're not creating these guys, then what's the future going to hold for the industry itself in construction or anything, mate? Mind you. So
and look, it's a tough one.
It is a tough one. Yeah,
large number of people, young people as well.
Yeah, and they don't. And look, we sort of have these rule of thumbs. It's like, okay, initially, early days, it was like one in 10 you know, 1 in 20, 1 in 5. We just seem to have these matrices that younger people coming through now, even at 16, like I left school with year 10 when I was 16, you know, and I was ready to go. But some kids now just aren't, they're not ready at 16. They need to mature a little bit more. And we find the biggest value at the moment with apprentices, we're getting, and especially in Tasmania, mind you, is mature age, changing career or whatever, they're coming back into doing a trade.
Yep.
And, you know, people talk about, you know, doing your trade, oh, it's 4 years or to be a plumber, 6 years to be licensed. But that time goes so fast, as we know, time flies, and then all of a sudden you're running your own business and, you know, where you go. So
yep.
I guess if anyone is just keen to learn, they've got a good work ethic, they turn up on time, then we can develop them from there.
Yeah, really good point. Really good point.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon's been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
The biggest learning, I think, trust is a really interesting word as well. Learning how to trust people, because you tend to get let down a lot more than what people actually are there for you. So that's been a massive learning for me. Like, I've had people look me in the eyes and tell me they're going to pay me only 100 grand, and then they go belly up 1 week later. So there's massive battles internally, personally, to be able to not only judge but read people and know that they're telling you the truth. So it's a tough one, because you want to trust everyone, right? But at the end of the day, you've got to be smart as well. So it's a tough one.
You know, essentially, I was talking to I'll call him a new client just the other day, and same issue in the construction industry. Someone owed him $2 million and just went down, and the week before, straight to his face. No,
it's fine. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, not good. So tell me, when you think about, before that, within the business now, what do you reckon are your main challenges, and what are the main challenges going forward?
I think what we were just touching on with creating tradesmen is having the young generation coming through. Like, you're battling against the YouTubers, and they're seeing all these guys not having to work, and they're making all this money, or perceived to be making all this money, and they're not getting their hands dirty. Like, plumbing is a dirty trade. We're in the trenches every day. We're digging. We're, new work, but maintenance wise, you've got your hands in it. You've got your hands in toilets and all that sort of stuff. And it's not really a glittery job for a new person or new age young person coming through to go, oh, I actually want to stick my hands in a toilet. It's like, it's sort of changed, But I love that. I love being outside. Like, even after playing soccer, like, I love getting dirty. I love being around machinery and all that sort of stuff. So that's a tough one too.
So getting people is the key challenge.
Definitely going to be the key challenge. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. It's the same across the board with pretty much all my clients these days. And some of the strategies they're coming up with to attract good young people is really interesting. Getting into schools, talking to schools about the opportunities, because there are very few things that young kids can get into which can lead to their own business quickly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
how quickly things can happen, or lead to really good being paid really well. There's very few things out there that can lead to that really quickly, and the trades are definitely one of those things.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like I said, within 4 to 6 years, they can have their own business, and there's not many tradies that don't have work at the moment, so whatever it might be.
Exactly right.
And they've always got the toys. Money always.
Yeah. So tell me, when you think of the word successful, who comes to mind from a business perspective, and why?
Look, I think success, touching back on the whole family side, success, you look at these billionaires and you look at how much time they've got, that's not what I see as successful. It's the business owners that are there for their families. You don't need $1 billion to be happy in life. You don't need 6 houses. You don't need all this, all the glittery things. For us, business is about growing people and building people up. That's a legacy that we want to live. The money just looks after itself at the end of the day, and every business has a struggle with monetary value. So yeah, I'm just going off a bit of a blank track there. Sorry, Jonathan.
It's you know, I actually haven't said this before, but it's quite interesting. Can I ask, how old are you, Evan?
I just turned 40 in October, actually.
So, okay, happy birthday.
Thanks.
It's really interesting, the different definitions based on stage of life.
Yes.
We're 109, interviewing 109 now. And yeah, my definition is very similar to yours, but I'm much older. Like, I'm 63, but I'm privileged that we adopted two young kids, and we've got two 9-year-olds. So yeah, I'm actually at the same stage of life as you in some ways.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would answer the question the same way.
Yeah.
It's about, there's no such thing as work-life balance as an entrepreneur, but family balance, and it's a critical part of what I do. But those who've got older families and the like, it's interesting. They'll nail down. They'll nail someone. Elon Musk comes up quite often. Which I can get. Multi-billion-dollar businesses, etc. But I mean, what a crap life that man must have. And
exactly right.
Relationships,
Steve Jobs, look at Steve Jobs. I was reading a thing on him the other day, and what he wrote before he passed away, and what he would give for his health and family and all that sort of stuff. Richest man in the world. I've got all the money. I could buy health, but I can't.
Exactly right.
So that's success for me is knowing, being healthy, family, memories, all that sort of stuff. That's success.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We all want the best. We all want the best for our kids. Don't get me wrong. So money's just a tool at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Everything else is the value.
I agree. And it's interesting how. So I'm going to go off on because you've got young kids. How old are your kids?
So I've got 13, 11, and 8.
Okay, so one of my all 3 girls.
3 girls. Yep, there they are in the back there. Sorry,
well, there's 2 lessons that are coming out there. One is there's a great book called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, the actor.
Okay. Yeah.
At the end of it, and it's like summer reading. This is something you should. It's worth grabbing this book. At the end of the book, he talks about having daughters, and he says, the thing about daughters, it's like being on a perpetual honeymoon. And because if you think we go on honeymoons, we come back a couple of weeks later, we're into work, and it's Now my daughter, 3 or 4 times a day, will just chuck herself into my arms and give me a big cuddle, a huge cuddle, perpetual honeymoon. The other thing is, I talk a lot about virtual mentors, because after COVID, I didn't travel that much as I used to. But one of my virtual mentors is a guy called Daniel Priestley. And he, I was listening to something of his recently where he was talking about children, and he's got kids about our kids' age, and he said he doesn't pay the money for chores because, as far as he's concerned, chores is just being part of the family. You do them. So what he does instead is he gives money for pages.
Okay.
So it's been one of those unbelievable light bulb moments for me. And look, I know I'm off on a
no, because we talk about this at home, so it's good. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah. So I was listening to this thing in the middle of it. It was at night. I ran out for a cup of tea. Said my wife and her mother were there, and the kids were there, and I just said, no money for chores. And my son would go, yay! I said, you're going to get money for pages. And he wasn't a reader at all. And literally overnight, he's become a reader. And interesting enough, I haven't paid him any money, but he's found, David Walliams found an author, jumped into reading, and every Saturday morning now, Mum goes to yoga, and the kids and I go into the bookshop. I get both a new bookshop, a new book, and we go out for pancakes for breakfast, the 3 of us. And it's one of the best things.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So I think if you got girls aren't reading, money for pages.
Okay. Yeah, good one. Thanks for that.
Speaking of this, okay, so there's my podcast book. Are you a reader? Podcast, blogs?
It's funny. I'll like, my learning wise, reading isn't my thing. But yeah, more podcast listening, talking, more relational, I guess. I cycle, so I'm out with a bunch of guys, 3-4 times a week, bantering and learning and networking in that space as well. So more relational than reading, but I know I probably should read more. That's probably one of my downsides.
People learn in different ways.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hence my comment, my virtual mentors, podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, coaches.
True.
Whatever suits you. Yeah. My last question. Any last piece of advice or parting words to other business owners who are looking to grow?
I think, again, let's go back to family. Keep family first. Keep that in the center of your life. Don't get caught up, because we do. We're all guilty of it. I'm still guilty of it too, even though that's my focus. You still go off on your tangents where your kids are, asking you to play with them and like, I've just got to get this email done and then I'll be there. So just make sure that is the center of what you do, and everything else will look after itself.
Some great advice.
Yeah. Thanks,
Evan, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. It's been a pleasure.
Mate, as always, I enjoy these conversations.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Okay.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you watch/listen. It helps this channel more than you know, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the learning gets. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in entrepreneur stories of scaling up. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, please send an email to admin@scaleupgrowth.co. Put "be a guest" in the subject line and tell me a little about yourself. If you want to gauge where your business growth potential is and identify where the biggest opportunities in your business lie, or where the key needs that you need to concentrate on right now are, take our assessment where you will receive personalized advice for improvement. It's quick and free. Go to scaleupgrowth.scoreapp.com. If you would like to work with me one-to-one, I love coaching and get the best outcomes that way. Send me an email at jonathan@scaleupgrowth.co and put one-to-one in the heading. Tell me a bit about your business and let's see how we can apply a great strategy for your business. So that's it for this week. Tune in next time for more great learnings from a scaling entrepreneur.